In July of 2022, the South Africa inflation rate hit the 13 years high at 7.8%.
The cost of living continues to increase for South Africans, with the consumer inflation rate reaching a new 13-year high.
Since 1960, year in, year out, South Africa has been running on 6.9% inflation rate. Now, if you don't know what that means, it means from 1960 to the beginning of 2022, there have been overall price increase of 9,706% in South Africa. Now, giving another example, if there was a particular item you could buy for 100 Rand in 1960 in South Africa, today you are going to need 9,806 Rand to buy exact same item. Nigeria is even worse.
It appears there is no end in sight regarding economic hardship and rising costs of living in Nigeria. The country's inflation rate hits a new 17-year high of 20.77%.
In August of 2022, our inflation rate hit 20.5%. Again, from 1960 to date, Nigeria has been running on 16.1% average inflation rate. What that means is, from 1960 to date, there have been 566,918% increase on the price of item. If there was an item that you are supposed to buy 100 Naira in 1960, today you are going to buy that item for 567,018 Naira. If you're in Nigeria watching this video, do not cry, because things could really get worse.
President Nana Akufo-Addo is under pressure. This is the second protest against his government in as many weeks. The triggers are out of control inflation and a depreciating currency.
Ghana inflation hit 40%, Kenya hit a record high. Don't even talk about Zimbabwe at 80% inflation rate, or Sudan at more than 200% inflation rate. Now, the question is, what exactly is driving Africans' inflation? You see, when it comes to inflation in advanced economy, there are two things that drive the inflation. First is the cost of production. I'll give you an example. You know, when Russia had problem with the United Kingdom and other European countries, then they stopped selling their oil to those countries, or by the virtue of sanction, they stopped selling oil to European country. Then the prices of oil goes up. Because the prices of oil goes up, the factory, the industry, the businesses needed oil, meaning their cost of production will go up. Because of that, they have to increase how much they are selling their product. Now, the second example is if you have a disruption in the supply chain. For example, when COVID hit, and many companies in America that were producing their products in China, they were not able to produce their products in the required quantity, meaning it is going to cost more to go to other nations to produce the same product. Then you have inflation. However, when it comes to Nigeria or African countries, our whole story is different. In Africa, there are three things that drives our inflation: food, energy, and dollars. Okay, so I want to explain all of these theory, but which one should I explain first? I think I better start with dollars. If you're an African, I don't need to tell you this, but maybe some people forget things so easily, or they don't pay attention. You see, the real currency of Africa is dollar. If this gets you hungry, I'm going to ask you to do a simple exercise. Now, look at the room where you are watching this video, or maybe you're on the road, or maybe you are in your office, anywhere you are in Africa. Just look around, and point to 10 items around you. Have you done that? Okay, so tell me, how many of those items were produced in your country? I will be surprised if you are an African and you can answer 7. I'm sure it is probably 1 or 2 of all the 10 items you can count around you now that were produced in your country. Do you know the implication of that? I'm going to tell you. You see, when a nation or a race is stupid enough to not know how to produce what they need, what happens is that they will have to spend another man's currency to buy what they need. Now, the problem about spending another man's currency is that you have to earn it. You cannot print it. Now, if by any chance you do not earn enough of that currency, you find yourself in a big mess. Now, let me give you a practical example of how this goes by using my country, Nigeria. You see, according to Nairametrics, since 2017 till date, my country has been earning average of $39 billion every year from oil. Now, don't forget that oil is 80% of total exports for my country. So, with a simple mathematics, that simply means Nigeria earned another 9.5 billion. Let's call it 10 billion for easy math. 10 billion from other minor exports. So now, Nigeria is having like 49 billion in revenue every year. Let's round it off for easy math. Let's call it 50 billion every year. Then you have, apart from government, you have individual businesses and individual citizens, selling things on the internet and, earning some dollars. Let's call that 1 billion. So roughly, my country is bringing in, 51 billion US dollar every year. Okay, if you do a simple math, divide that by 12, you're going to get something around 4.1, 4.2. That is the amount of dollars my country earns every month. Pay attention because you are about to see where the problem starts. There is one Mr. Lukman in Lagos who want to import 17 cars because he sells cars. It means Mr. Lukman is going to take something like 100 million naira and go and change it to dollars. For every Mr. Lukman, however, we have 2,000 other people who sell cars all across Nigeria. So all of them have to take naira, change it to dollars. Then you have Mrs. Juliet, who live in Anambra, and she sells rice and other food items. Since all of these items are imported to my country because we are stupid, we don't know how to make anything, then Mrs. Juliet is going to take 3 million naira or 10 million naira to go and change it to dollars. And for every single Juliet, there is another 15,000 women who have to go and change. Then you have individual citizens who buy books. For example, I have probably bought 7 books in Amazon this year. Each of those transactions means I have to use dollars. Then you have companies that have to buy raw materials, and all of these companies have to take naira, they have to change it to dollars. And I have not told you this. My country have to use dollar to buy oil. Because again, we are too stupid to figure out how to make a refinery. Oh, and I have not told you this. Every single African country service their debts with dollars, meaning they need dollars to pay their debts, interest, and the principal. At the end of the day, Nigerians, the company in Nigeria, and the government of Nigeria need $15 billion every month, and we only earn 4 or 5 billion. You don't need to go to Harvard University to study economics before you understand this. Wherever there is higher demand for a product, the prices increases. Because Nigeria pull in $5 billion every month and we need $15 billion, you have 3 times demand more than supply. What that means is a dollar that costs 100 naira today might cost 500 naira next 3 months. Now that is how dollars is like number one thing that causes inflation, crazy inflation in African countries. Food and energy. The reason why I give this topic a segment of its own is there is something I really need to tell you about this that is different from what I have said. Now look at these headlines. If you see this headline, you are going to notice that usually when there is hike in inflation, it is food and energy that push that hike. The reason is very simple. Everybody eats. Not everybody buy wristwatch every day. Not everybody buy cars every day. So food is essential. Which is the reason why if you look at this chart, you are going to see that food, which is in red, dominates every other items. Now, come back and listen to me or answer my question. If food is very essential to human life and it is the only way human beings live and everybody needs it, you will assume that every single nation on earth should be able to produce the food they need. Yeah, except if you talk about Africans. Africans love white men so much that we love them to provide everything we need for us because they are our fathers, right? And everybody talk about how they colonize us and how they are the reason for all our problems. If they were the reason for all your problems, they are still the reason why you don't figure out how to plant things you want to eat. They colonized you 200 years ago, but they are still the one holding your hands today not to figure out modern ways to manufacture things. By the way, I have not told you that many African countries are having more arable lands than many countries of the world. I'll give you an example. Look at Ukraine and look at Nigeria. Now look at this Wikipedia table. It's a list of countries in relation to the number of arable land they have. You guess what? My country, Nigeria, is in number 9, while Ukraine is in number 11. Yet, Ukraine is the 10th largest exporter of wheat in the world. Why Nigeria, my country, cannot even farm enough things to feed himself. In the year 2020 alone, Nigeria imported 1,900 tons of rice. Last year, we spent more than $1 trillion importing wheat. And somebody may want to ask me, but why can't we plant what we want to eat? I don't know. But the only thing I know is, you see, even this monkey knows that you are a slave as long as you depend on other people to feed yourself. That holds truth whether you are a nation or you are an individual. So in this video, I've tried to let you see the picture of why African inflation is crazy. And the solution I'm suggesting is we have to start to encourage a culture of innovation, a culture of adventure, a culture that figure things out, a culture that take responsibility for ourselves, and a culture that understand that the world belongs to people that have power. And people that have power are people who create things and sell it to other people, then get money, then they use that money to build their economy and buy weapons. Thank you so much for watching my video. My name is Steve Courage. I love to talk about Africa and entrepreneurship, innovation, and how we can push ourselves further. If you are new to me, you might want to check out some of my books. They should be in the description box. One or two of them should be free. And if this video makes sense to you, why won't you share with one or two people? Thank you very much.